literary slummers, to another episode of HateRead, the first episode of the HateRead Slummer Spectacular, Slummer Reading. We are reading the Animorphs series by K.A. Applegate. I am one of your hosts, Em.
And I'm another of your hosts, Anna. Ooh, we just did like that's our 12 months intro.
Oh, fuck, let me do the different.
No, it's fine.
I'm Em.
And I'm another one of your morphs, Anna.
Can I please say I'm one of your morphs? Can that be
I'm
our
one of
thing
your
for this
morphs,
one?
yeah. Yeah.
I'm one of your morphs, M.
And I'm another of your morphs, Anna. This fortnight, we read the first book in the Animorphs series, which is a 54-book long series. It's a lot of books.
We're gonna get to them all.
Yes. Oh, hopefully. I can't live with myself if I don't read all of them. Entitled The Invasion. Who is invading what? Guess you'll have to stick around to find out.
And how and why?
Why is a good question. Though I guess they do explain it, but it seemed kind of weak sauce to me.
And also it's been ongoing, right? Like it actually doesn't really start in this book, right? Or does it?
I think it like starts previous to this book. They're just like informed about it in this book. So
right. Yeah. So it should really be more like Animorphs number 1, the information.
The informing.
Oh man, but since this is our first ever Animorphs episode,
oh my god, I said the informing, but like informing is a word.
It is, but I didn't want to correct you.
This is fine. We're off to a great start. It's the summer. I don't have to think about words and smart junk.
Since this is our first Animorphs episode, we thought we should give a little context into the Animorphs phenomenon, I guess, and our relationship with our friends, the Animorphs.
Our best friends.
So, the Animorphs, if you are not aware, is a series by K.A. Applegate, as I kind of already said. And it started when, like, the 90s?
Yes, this came out in 1996. And the show was, like, 1998.
And it was a Scholastic series, which I know because my relationship with the Animorphs was seeing an Animorphs novel at every Scholastic book fair.
That's how I came across them as well.
Of course. My problem, though, was that I could never find the first book. They didn't have it at the library, and they never seemed to be selling it at any of the aforementioned book fairs. So, like, anytime I saw one and I was like, oh, cool, it's a book about a person who turns into an animal, I want to read it. But then I'd be like, oh, but I haven't read the first one. And I don't really know how necessary it is to read them in order. I kind of get the sense, having read this one, that maybe it's not super necessary.
Yeah.
Having said that, I have, up to this point, never read an Animorphs book, never watched the show.
Excellent. I came across the series the same way that Em did at a Scholastic book fair. I was lucky enough to snag the first book in the series, but I think the only ones I ever owned, because I would get them from the library, and I probably did read them out of order because I was a dumb kid, but the only books I owned were this one, the first one, The Invasion, one of the like offshoot series books told from the perspective of I think it was one of the Andalites or one of the Hork-Bajir or whatever, and then the one where the boy is turning into a polar bear on the cover, and I don't know which one that is.
So, all right, so this is the first one, so let's get into it.
Okay, so this book is told from the perspective of Jake. And so one of the super cool things about the Animorphs series is that each book is told from the perspective of another one of the teens.
Man, no other book series has ever done that ever.
No, none, ever. And you know what? I bet they all don't sound exactly alike.
Let's real quick before we get into, I guess, further into the plot, let's say the teens and what their personality is, because I think if I had to break it down at this point as a person who had never read the series before, this is what I've taken away. We've got Jake, who's the leader, I guess, just based solely on the fact that his book is the first one. Marco, Jake's best friend, who is the scaredy cat.
And the comedic relief.
Okay. Cassie, who is the girl, Rachel, who is the other girl, and
we have Peacekeeper girl and girl not like other girls.
I know that one of the girls is into animals, but although they said it
Cassie.
18 times, I could not tell you which one that is. Okay. And the other one is Jake's cousin, but that does not seem to be the case with the way that he describes her.
Always talking about how pretty she is.
And then we've got Tobias, who is the sad one.
He's like the weird loner one.
I do want, since we're on this topic, to real quick just read a segment from this book in which both Cassie and Rachel are introduced.
Please do.
Yeah. So we've got, I'm going to omit the names for now. Girl is kind of pretty, I guess. I mean, okay, she's very pretty. I don't really think about her that way. She has blonde hair and blue eyes and that kind of very clean, very wholesome look. She's one of those people who always knows the right clothes to wear and how to look like they just walked out of one of those fashion magazines girls like. She's also very graceful because she takes gymnastics, even though she says she's too tall to ever really be good at it. And then the other description, she's sort of the opposite. For one thing, she's usually wearing jeans and a plaid shirt or something else real casual. She's black and wears her hair very short most of the time. She had it longer for a while, but then she went back to short, which I like. She's quieter than the other girl, more peaceful, like she always understands everything on some different, more mystical level. Which of those do you think this guy wants to fuck?
I mean, I know the answer, but we'll give a couple minutes for the audience to chime in.
Because if you guess the first one was his cousin and the second one was his love interest, you are far, far better at picking up cues than me, I guess, because I was like, are you sure that's your cousin? Did you mix them up?
No, he just really admires Rachel's beauty. Maybe because he's like, I'm also good looking because we're related. And that's how I'm going to talk to you about how good looking I am.
Maybe. I also feel like maybe the author was like, oh, I don't want him to describe his love interest as being beautiful or whatever. I want him to focus on her, like, personality because otherwise it's creepy. So it's fine if he describes his cousin as that because obviously he doesn't want to hook up with his cousin. It's his cousin. But, like, I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, like, I appreciate that you don't want him to be like, yeah, this other girl was super hot and banging and I wanted to make out with her because we're children. So actually I didn't want to fuck her because that was, probably not the case because we're like 11 or something.
I don't know how old they are.
Right? How old are they?
I don't, it never 11? Says.
I guess they're 11.
I thought they were teenagers.
Are they teens? I did not think they were
middle
teens.
Grade. I don't know.
Well, here's the only info about their age that I gathered from this book was that we know that Tom, the big brother, is a total legend or was a total legend on the junior high basketball team. And now he's the main scorer for the high school team.
Oh, shit.
So everyone expects Jake to make the team easy, but he didn't. So I don't know if the team he's referring to is the high school or junior high one, but I assumed it was the junior high one.
Well, the Wikipedia entry for this book calls them young teenagers, so maybe let's say 13. Like 8th grade.
Okay.
That's kind of,
I can settle for that, although I really think they're 6th graders, but fine.
They look like 6th graders on the covers of the original books, if you look. They look very young. I would also like to give a shout out to the whoever it is that's editing the Wikipedia entries for each of the Animorphs books. They did a bang-up job. They've got, like, a full plot summary. They've got, like, inconsistencies in the books. And then they have a list of the characters, what morphs they acquired in the book, and then what morphs they used.
Man.
They did this is a very good job.
The Animorphs fandom, the Fanimorphs, if you will,
are the Fanimorphs!
Very active still, I guess.
I love it. So we'll get into the plot then, which won't be very substantial, but, it was a quick read. So Jake and Marco hanging out at the mall. They run into Rachel, Cassie, and then randomly Tobias, and they all decide to walk home together. And they decide to take a shortcut through this, like, I guess just an empty lot or construction, like, where construction was happening. And their parents told them 1,000 million times, don't do it, but they did it because they're rebellious young teenagers. And as they are walking through this construction site, an alien spaceship lands before them. And this horse-looking alien comes out. As one does. And he's like, hey, guys, want to become Animorphs? I'm dying. But he tells them a little bit more. He's like, hey, guys, I know I'm the first alien to come to the planet Earth and that you guys are a bunch of teenagers, but you gotta trust me that some of the people on this planet are being controlled by tiny slugs in their brains, and that's a very bad thing. I'm gonna give you guys go on my spaceship and get my magic box, and if we all touch it at the same time, you can become any animal that you touch. This is the Animorph origin story.
I am very confused by this, and perhaps you as an Animorph expert can explain it to me a little more. What's happening? I don't understand.
I think the only way it makes sense to me is that the box is a hard drive. And when they all touch it with their bodies become computers that download the software to become Animorphs, because they explain it as technology.
Right. So it's not magic.
But it's like a magic power.
Okay. So I guess my question here is, are there any, and this isn't going to be relevant right now, but it's going to become relevant later when we get into theories. Yes. Are there any limiting factors that we know of right now on who can become, and I mean, they come up with the name Animorphs, but who can get this power to morph into other beings? Is there any limitations besides you have to touch the box with your body while one of these, what are they called?
Andalites.
Andalites. While one of these Andalites touches the box. Is that the only rule?
I think the only people that can morph naturally are Andalites. Because they're the only ones with the technology. Okay. But then I think they can apparently, well, I think this was like a very no thing for the prince to, spoiler alert, it's a prince. He's an Andalite prince named Elfangor. I think this was a very no thing for him to do, was to give the technology to outsiders, because they want to keep the morphing abilities in the hands of the Andalites, because it is apparently the secret power to defeating the Yeerks.
I think this answers my question, and I think this tracks with my current theory on this series.
Okay. I can't wait to hear it.
All right.
So they're told about the Yeerks. They're like, all right, guys, I guess it's up to us to save the Earth. But, like, okay. None of them at all are terrified by this alien. Even Marco the Wimp. They're all like, all right, man, let's accept these powers. Let's touch this weird glowing cube. No stranger danger here.
Well, I think that's explained, because this also leads into my theory. I think it's explained, because I think that they see him and they're instantly calmed by him. So I think there is some sort of natural charisma that Andalites have. I find it very suspicious, and I will get into it later.
Because, well, I was kind of going to talk about it now, but like, he's over here talking about mind control slugs, but he's also influencing their emotions with his brain.
Yep, it's weird. It's weird how that's working out, isn't it?
Anyway, so the prince was like the last survivor of this battle that happened up in space between the Andalites and the Yeerks and the controllers, controllers are what they call the people that are being controlled by Yeerks, which doesn't make sense, because shouldn't they be the controlee?
I think it just sounds better.
Yeah.
They knew that people were going to podcast about this.
They knew back in 1996. The people that were chasing the prince finally catch up to him, and they eat him. And the teens are almost discovered, but they manage to outrun aliens and adults alike.
Yeah.
The next morning, they like all go to bed, and then I guess like the next morning they all want to pretend it didn't happen, except Tobias, who was like super gung-ho about being an Animorph because he like stuck around a little bit.
I think Animal Girl is into it too, because she loves by the time we
animals.
catch back up to her, she's like perfect at being a horse, which okay.
Her horse skills are A+. I would give her
Yeah.
a gold medal in horse.
Such mane, beautiful tail.
So Tobias and Cassie are super into this idea of becoming animals. Everyone else was like gonna ignore it and pretend it didn't happen. But Tobias goes over to Jake's house and is like, look what I can do. And he turns into a cat. And then Jake turns into his dog. But they discover a problem, which is that when you are an animal, because you've just copied their DNA, that means that like you don't just become the animal physically, you also have kind of become the animal mentally. So you're having to fight off the impulses of an animal the whole time.
Which this leads to another question I have about this series. Well, it's a bit later. Tobias has copied an animal that was injured, and Jake is like, well, why aren't you injured in your morph? Marco responds, Jake, do you pay any attention in biology class? DNA has nothing to do with some injury. The DNA wasn't broken, just a wing. Which that's cool. That makes sense. That tracks. But then like also they have the animals' memories, I think. Like, okay, like Tobias definitely like 2 seconds later knows what the hawk was thinking. I don't know if that's like a memory or he was talking to the hawk, but also when Jake turns into the dog, he like smells another dog and is like, oh, I recognize that dog smell. So that to me implies they have the animal's memories.
Yes, I agree.
Which is not...
That's not part of DNA.
Yeah, so question mark?
Maybe K.A. Applegate will go on to later explain how they are also absorbing the memories of the animals they touch.
I'm going to need a lot more info on how exactly this whole deal works if I'm going to fully buy into this magical land K.A. Applegate has created for
I'm going to
me.
have to look it up on Google Scholar and see what the research suggests. So Tobias is like, Jake, you're our leader. No one else will become an Animorph if you aren't there to become an Animorph. So Jake's like, all right, let's get the gang together.
And this is another question I have about this series.
Yes.
Why is Jake the leader? What's the
He's
deal?
obviously the coolest and most athletic of them all, Em. I don't know.
I don't understand.
Very bold about that because, like, it's established earlier in the book, Tobias is not in their friend group. He's a weirdo, and I mean to say weirdo like they think he's a weirdo. I mean, I kind of think he's a weirdo too, but it's okay to be weird. But Tobias talks to Jake like, you're our leader. Like, he knows him so well.
It makes sense in the sense that Jake is the linchpin of the group. Like, Jake is friends with Marco, so he brings Marco in. And he's kind of friends with Tobias more than anyone else is. And then his cousin is one of the girls, and she's friends with the other one. So, like, I get that in that sense of, like, oh, he has to call them all up just because he's kind of he's the friend who's throwing the party, and you might not know the other friends at the party, but like maybe you'll get along, like that sort of deal. I just wouldn't use the term leader.
No.
Like, and I feel like that's what this is leading, like this is going towards, and I don't know if I buy Jake as a character who is capable of leading anything.
Is that just because he's 13 or because he actually lacks the characteristics
I don't know. I just feel like I think he actually lacks any sort of strong opinion, or like everybody else seems to have opinions about stuff, right? Like Marco is like, no, we definitely shouldn't do this because it is, I will die and I don't want to die. Like,
my dad will die if I die.
Cassie, I think, is like, I do want to do this because horses, which, like, that's not a great opinion, but it is an opinion. Tobias, he's like, I want to do this because my home life sucks, and I think the best way to handle that is not through therapy, but through becoming a bird, which, like, also not the best opinion, but does take a strong stance at least. Jake right now is the guy rolling up to the debates like, I'm sure I'll come up with the policies at some point, and I just don't know if we should vote for him.
I think maybe to
He's the Jon Snow of this, right?
yes, he doesn't want the leadership, but that makes him the best leader.
That's not a good qualification for a leader. I don't understand.
We have a lot of feelings about the last season of
Jesus.
Game of Thrones.
Also, we don't know, just to be clear, we're recording this in advance, so we're not really sure how that whole thing is going to break bad,
true.
where John's going to end up. But so we may be more or less salty about it by the time this comes
Maybe
out.
we'll keep you updated in a couple more episodes if the analogy continues.
Yeah.
My thinking maybe is that perhaps because Tobias is already so super into being an animal, his mind was just like, Jake is the biggest and strongest of us. He's clearly the leader. Now I'm going to smell his butt. Like
That seems likely. I think that's the best explanation we're going to get.
So the kids all decide to meet at Cassie's farm because Cassie is conveniently has access to every animal in the world because her parents they own like a wildlife rescue, and also her mom is a vet at the zoo. So they can touch all of the animals.
Look, I know this is a huge hand wave for us to be able to have access to all the animals, but I am very thankful that the author did not make us sit through like 8 books of them turning into fucking pigeons or whatever, because that would have been miserable.
Yes, it's one of those really good convenient circumstances.
Yeah. Like, yes, I think it's a little bit bullshit, but I will allow it because I don't want to have to sit through 10 books of children turning into roly-poly bugs because they just do not have access to other animals.
They can't get to the tigers and elephants. Not until they age and can drive themselves. So it's like 3 years of story here. They go to meet at Cassie's farm there, and some stuff happens that's not super important. They talk about it a lot. Marco's still like, no, I don't want to do it. And Tobias and Rachel are both like, we super have to do it. And Cassie's like, I just want to be a horse, guys. So Cassie shows off her cool morphing abilities because previously, like, Tobias and Jake could morph, but they turned up to be naked at the end of it. Cassie can keep her clothes on as long as they're super tight.
Which, again, that's a weird rule. Like, I don't understand. How are... Why? What? Like,
I don't understand that either. It's not like it was a Hulk thing.
Yeah, like, thank you for not making us sit through, like, several books of... But, I mean, she still kind of does, right? Like, we still have all these moments of, like, the kids being like, oh, don't look at me, I'm naked. Or, like, oh, thank goodness we didn't have to see her boobies. Like, okay, like, I don't know. I need either more explanation on why this works or, like, just cut it out entirely, right? Like...
Yeah, like, let's just not even let them keep their clothes.
Yeah.
Unless it's going to be a huge plot point later on that they end up naked somewhere.
Probably is.
Who knows? Through a series of events, they're questioned by a police officer who's like, we're looking for some kids who were at the construction site last night, because the running narrative in the newspaper is that some people thought they saw a alien spaceship land in the construction site, but it turns out it was just teenagers with fireworks. So this police officer's like, were you the kids that did the fireworks, or do you know who they are? And of course they all lie, but then they discover, they can just tell, I guess, that the police officer is a controller. Also, later on, some other bullshit happens, but they find out that Jake's older brother, Tom, is also a controller. And he wants Jake to join his special club called The Sharing, which, yes, it's like as creepy as it sounds.
But also slightly less creepy because they definitely, like, have picnics on the beach and play volleyball. So that part was nice.
Yeah, it was very, like, it screamed to me like very like cult beginnings. Like, we're gonna have all these fun activities for all you teenagers that feel like you don't belong with your social group. But what was their advertising campaign that they convinced a bunch of teenagers to show up to something called The Sharing?
I feel like maybe some of them, they just kind of, like, brute forced it, right? And, like, kidnapped them and put the worms in their ears. And then maybe, like, those kind of, the way this works is when the worms are in their ears, they still have full access to the other ones to their host's memory and stuff, right? Because like Tom knows who Jake is even when he is wormied. Perhaps a couple of them were like a little bit more kidnappy, and then those use their knowledge of their friends and loved ones and assistant principals to like trick them into joining.
I guess they would have to, but they just must make it sound so much cooler than it is. It just sounds
I don't know. If I was like a 16-year-old and someone was like, hey man, I'm part of this club, it's called sharing, and we play volleyball, like I'd be like, oh, okay, what was it called? Oh, it's called I didn't hear you. Well, we play volleyball. Okay.
And we eat hot dogs on the beach. Come to our hot dog volleyball club.
What was it called, Melissa?
Do you like slugs? So yes, they also discover that their assistant principal is a human controller, and he's also the leader of the sharing club. So, you know, because they are young teens in school, they have to have like a villain that's at the school. It's not even the principal, it's the assistant principal.
Yeah, and they kept having all of these moments before this where they're being chased and whatever, and it's like, it's a voice that I recognize and I can't place. And then finally they see the principal and they're like, oh, it's the assistant principal, that's who the voice was. And I'm like, right, cool. But like, we as the audience hadn't met the assistant principal before this, so this wasn't like a big twist to us. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like
okay, it's a guy that we don't know. Like, before, it was a guy that we didn't know, and now it's a guy that we still don't know. So, like, I guess nothing has changed for me, the reader, but I'm glad you had this epiphany.
Also, like, either these kids are, like, really cool and get in trouble a lot, or super nerdy and just like to hang out in the principal's office, because I couldn't even tell you what my assistant principal looked like, let alone sounded like.
Oh, see, I could have, because, like, our assistant principals were more hands-on than the principal. Like, they were like, there was like an assistant principal for each grade level, so that was kind of like the person that was around a lot for like rallies and things like that. So I guess it just depends on the structure of your school
and whether or not they're yerks.
Yeah. And how much the author needs to save the actual principal to be a villain later on in the series, because I am going to guess that is going to happen.
The bigger bad. It's revealed that every 3 days, the Yeerks need to leave their human hosts' brains and take a little dip in a pool to replenish their Yeerky powers. So the Animorphs decide that they need to find out where this pool is so that they can, I guess, I don't really know what their plan is. Like, were they going to go in and be like, all right, we're going to stomp on some slugs in 3 days? Or were they just like, we're going to save the people, but leave the slugs there to invade new minds?
No, I think they wanted to destroy the pool, because I think in their minds they thought it was like a small thing that they could maybe like, I don't know, like get some sandbags and just like fill it up, and then it wouldn't be a problem anymore.
Reverse shop vac it.
Yeah.
That's probably true. They probably thought this was a lot more smaller scale than it actually was. But Jake morphs into a little tiny lizard at school. Like, he climbs into his locker and he turns into a lizard.
This was my favorite line of this book because, okay, so there's a line in this book that is so weirdly written that I, like, stopped and looked at that, and because of that, I, like, ended up nitpicking. So, there's a line in this book where the first part is, when he's saying he turns into a lizard, he says, I turned into a lizard, a green anole to be exact. It's a member of the iguana family. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't know. But then the next part of the line is so buck wild to me that I like stopped and looked at that line. And then I was like, wait, isn't anole a member of the iguana family? It's not. It's a member of the same like genus as iguanas, but it's the same suborder as iguanas, but it's a different family. Like the anole, it's Dactylidae, I think is how it's pronounced, but that's like a separate family than the iguana family. I would never have even thought to like look at that at all if it wasn't for the way this next part of this book is written, which is, it's a member of the iguana family. Like you care. Why are you attacking me, Jake? Maybe I do care. Why are you angry at me, the reader? What's going on? I don't
He's just
get
got
it.
so much angst because he's a young teen.
I don't understand. You're addressing me. Why are you're trying to tell me your story about morphing animals? Why? I'm clearly invested. I'm 61% of the way through this book. What did I do to anger you?
I just tried to be your friend.
I do care, Jake. I care so much that I went and Googled iguanas.
Just to prove you wrong, Jake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was my favorite line of this book.
Like you care.
Like you care. I wish every book that was written in first person, like at some point the narrator just turned on the audience.
That would be a good way to know, like, who is actually paying attention to the boring parts of the book.
It's like, if you think the audience isn't going to care about the specifics of the Anole, why did you include it? Like, I don't understand.
Then don't write it.
I don't understand.
You're not like,
it's so weird.
That's not characterization. That's nothing. So Jake morphs into not an iguana, and he discovers that there's an entrance to the Yeerk pool right in their school, in the janitor's closet, which, like, it was very funny to me because he's like, I saw the assistant principal and he, like, twisted a broom in a direction and it opened the door. Like, what kind of secret compartment door is this where you move a broom around and it opens? Like, the janitor could just do that as part of his job on accident.
Do you think maybe he fired all the janitors to keep his dark secret?
I think he must have, or he yeerked them.
That explains so much, because there is a moment earlier in this transformation scene where when he transforms, he falls to the floor of his locker as an Anole, a little lizard, and he realizes that he's standing on something that's the size of a boulder, like I care, that he's standing on something the size of a boulder to him, a Anole, and that it's a wad of gum. Okay, how big of a wad of gum? Even a small lizard. It's a lot of gum that you have there, my friend.
I don't know. Was it in Jake's locker or outside of it?
In Jake's locker. Yes, because he's...
Maybe that was a personal project he's been working on.
Another reason that Jake should not be the leader of this group in that case.
He collects used chewing gum.
What you doing with all that gum, my boy?
I don't know yet. But one day you'll be happy I collected it.
It's going to be the Chekhov's gum of this series. It's going to come back in a big way later on.
I really hope so. I'm definitely, any instance of gum now, I'm going to be tracking.
Keep an eye on the gum.
Keep an eye on the chewing gum. So he finds his entrance and they're like, okay, well, the only things we can morph into right now is Jake can be a dog, Tobias can be a cat, and Cassie can turn into a horse. We need more options. So they go to the zoo and get more options. Let's see. So Marco becomes a gorilla. Tobias becomes a hawk. And then, Tobias became a hawk earlier because he was all like, I like being a hawk. I don't need to be any other animal.
They're like, why don't you pick something that, like, has any sort of capability? And he's like, nah, hawk though.
I'm a hawk man. Don't need no one else.
I'm a hawk. Actually, Jake goes with tiger, but on accident.
Yes, through a funny series of events.
We don't know this at the time, but Rachel picks up elephant, right? Because that's like a big twist later.
Yes, which is like the best thing I think you could have gotten when you're trying to fight slugs.
Yeah, and also everyone's like, I think she's the one who's like, I like dolphins, let's go do dolphins. And everyone's like, no, fuck you and fuck your dolphins.
There's no water where we're going.
Like, if they were looking for a pool, though, surely there would be water. Like... I don't know, maybe an aquatic teammate wouldn't be so bad.
But what if, like, going into... So wait. So she goes in to this underground labyrinth
and eats
as
them.
a girl. Or does she go already as a dolphin? Because they have to keep their identity secret.
Well, because they think that it is a small thing, right? So, like, she walks down, they wait. If in their minds the situation is there is a little pool, I'm thinking, like, kiddie pool size, but maybe a bit deeper, where the Yeerks hang out. They're not going to think there's going to be like 200 Yeerks that can eat them. They're just going to think she goes down there, turns into a dolphin, swims down, bite, kill the Yeerks that are in the pool and are defenseless. And at that point, they're dead, and it doesn't matter if anyone's seen them.
But she's got a belly full of yerk. That's pretty gross.
I'm just saying, I don't think that them being so dismissive of the dolphin idea was appropriate. Like, I think that also, I think you don't know what they're going to throw at you. You should diversify. Like, you've already got a big crushy thing. You've got the gorilla. Okay, tiger makes sense, but that was an accident. But like, tiger makes sense. You need that bite. Cool, got that.
Yeah.
Elephant, like, that's a little redundant. I feel like dolphin has more
That's true.
potential. You could,
And it's not like they're limited.
yeah, you're pouring all your money into the tanks, and you need like a good navy. Like, what's happening, guys? Not
They
good
should have
strategy.
just went and touched everything. Like, why did they only pick
Every
one
animal.
each?
Well, I think that was because they were like getting in trouble for it.
Oh yeah, they weren't supposed to be at
They
the zoo.
could only touch so many. Yeah. So there was like limitations. But if your whole goal was like to create as diverse a force as possible, I don't know. I don't know that gorilla and elephant should both be on the team.
Well, also, like, if they're at the beach, she could have done some spying because water at the beach is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Missed
This
opportunity.
is my point. They're really
Rachel-
painting themselves into a corner. They're so blindsided by having strength and mass. They don't think about like the tactical advantages of having a more diverse squad. Like you don't pick out 5 fighters when you start a campaign. Like someone's got to be the rogue.
You need a ranger or a rogue. Yeah. Hashtag Rachel did nothing wrong.
Hashtag dolphins are rogues.
I think, like, also, to backtrack a little bit, the whole fact that, like, Tobias was like, nah, man, I just want to be a hawk and stay a hawk. So,
Should have been a red flag.
It should have been a red flag because it's already been established that if you stay as an animal for more than 2 hours, you become that animal permanently. You cannot morph back.
Right.
And Tobias was just, like, spending all his free time as a hawk.
Right.
Jake, you're not a good leader. You have to think about the welfare of your team.
Yes, and I get that no one actually cares about Tobias because nobody knows him except for Jake, really. But I don't know, Jake. I get that he's not your real friend because that's like a thing Jake says at the beginning. He's like, "Oh, Tobias thought he was my friend." I'm like, "Well, that's pretty rude."
That's very rude, Jake.
But like, also, if he thinks he's your friend and you are teaming up to save the world together, I don't know. Like, maybe be like, "Hey, bud, everything okay? How's the home life?
I'm worried about you.
You doing all right, buddy? You're spending a lot of time
you
with
need to, like,
feathers. That's all I'm saying.
Spend the night at my house or, anything? Can we help you?"
Do you want to eat food that isn't roadkill? Like, let's go get a pizza. Let me remind you of the joys of human food. That's got to be
Pizza,
something, right?
Video games, showers. Yeah, man.
Right? That boy is never going to be able to shower again. Oof.
Oh, man. All I can do is, like, roll in sand or whatever it is hawks do to clean themselves. I don't know. Preen.
I think that's chinchillas.
Yeah, that's pretty close to hawk, if you ask me. They're, like, pretty much the same animal.
Yeah.
Also, though, like, thinking back on it, for some reason, my memories of the series as a child, I thought Tobias was the team leader.
Here's the thing. I meant to bring this up, actually. The like 3 things I knew about Animorphs going into this series was that they are younglings who turn into animals, aliens are involved, and there is a boy named Tobias who turns into a hawk and everyone is in love with him. Like, that's what I knew about this series. That's it. So I also thought that Tobias was more important to the group because he's the only one whose name I knew going into this.
Yeah, same.
But it's Jake. We're stuck with Jake. We have to deal with Jake.
Yeah. Turns out Tobias is just means fuck all. He just wants to be a hawk, man.
Tobias is just some bird.
I'm very disappointed.
Well, we'll have to see. Maybe things will turn around for old Tobias.
Maybe he grows a spine and becomes a hawk leader. I don't know.
That would be tight.
Also, like, surely... Well, no, we'll get to that. We'll get to that once I explain what happens to Tobias. So they get their animals, and just, like, with no plan at all, they're like, let's just go to the Yerk pool, man. Let's go in as humans, because they couldn't possibly know that we're not controllers. And then just fuck shit up. Turn into animals and do something. And everyone's like, great plan, Jake. Thanks. Thanks for being our leader.
You're so good and smart.
You're the best. Thank you. Except for it goes tits up immediately because Cassie gets kidnapped by that policeman that was asking questions earlier.
Yeah.
So they proceed with their bad plan, except for they've added on an additional sub plan, save Cassie. They go in, they turn into their animals, and apparently this place is awful because it's like, so the Yeerks are being removed from people's brains, and then they, as their normal selves, they gain control of their body again, and they're like screaming and shouting and crying, and then they're shoved into cages until their slugs are done taking their bath. And then like an assembly line, the slugs go back in their brains.
Which, this is another question I have. Does it have to be the same slug to the same person?
I was just going to ask. Is it like a hive mind slug thing, or what is going on?
Like, wouldn't it make more sense if they have to take the slugs out every 3 days and the slugs have to rest, right? Like,
Yes.
Shouldn't there be like shouldn't they have this on a better schedule, right? Like, you have a body come in, you pop a slug out, and you immediately put a new slug that has already rested back in. Unless it does have to be the same slug, and these slugs have personalities and like families and dreams of their own, which that's a little too much for me to deal with at this point in the Animorphs series.
Yeah, so like Tom goes down and he's like, "Hi, I'm here for my 3:30 spa appointment. I'm just going to take a dunk in the pool and then I'll get my deep tissue massage."
My 3:30 deslugging.
Yeah, and if you guys could just like burn some sandalwood incense during this whole process, that would really help me calm down a little bit. Just need to de-stress.
And everyone's like, "Oh man, Gistifer is just such a type A. Like, I can't stand
him.
Such a
diva slug.
Like, what? Just put a different slug in there, unless they're individuals. Like, it's a bad process. It doesn't make sense from a clerical standpoint, because then also you're giving all of the humans, like, if one of the humans ever gets out, which, spoiler alert, one of them does, you're giving them like all this insight into your like slug operations. Like, surely you want it to be as quick and seamless, like slug in, slug out as possible. It just seems that they're running things poorly from an operational standpoint.
I think we could really streamline the slug process.
I really think we could. They need to bring in an outside consultant, and that outside consultant should be us. This is our application to be the administrators of the Yeerk army.
Yes, I heard you needed an office manager for your slug spa. Listen, if you just made more slugs to begin with, or controlled fewer people until you had enough slugs where you could just seamlessly take one out, pop another one in.
Right.
I think you'd
even
save
if they
a
are
lot
individuals, right? Like, even if they are individual slugs,
Uh-huh.
like, why do they need to go back in the same body? But, like, if they get all the memories from the body, which I'm pretty sure we're supposed to assume they do, then, like, surely they would have all of the memories of whatever the other slug was doing in there, so, like, they could seamlessly continue whatever that operation was. It just seems like they're overly complicating things. Like, they have these natural advantages, and they're not using them.
They are not apex slug predators.
No. That's why they're on Earth. They couldn't survive amongst the cool aliens.
We'll show them. Someday we'll control a really cool alien species, and then we'll take over the universe.
They go in, they turn into their animals, they try to save the people that are in the cages, but they can't do it very good. And they save Cassie at least, and like one other person maybe. And then
it's
all
one person
just
who
run.
rides out on Cassie's back because she's a horse. I should make clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she turns into her horse form.
And like, they almost save Tom, but then Tom, like, who is deslugged at this point, Tom being Jake's older brother, Tom, who is deslugged at this point, like, helps them get out, like, fights back against his captors and is recaptured. So he's still sluggy.
Yes, that there is still a conflict in Jake's perfect
still got
life.
A bad case of the slug days.
Yes. And Tobias gets left behind, and he has to hide in the slug spa for more than 2 hours as a hawk, so he's stuck as a hawk. Also, I realized I forgot.
Which he absolutely did not have to do, though.
Oh, yeah, no, he could have just, like, left.
Or hid as a human. Like, there's...
Or hid as
just
a
be
human.
like, yeah, I'm a slug boy.
No,
What do you
he
want?
totally, like, he escaped and then just, like, flew around for a few hours.
100%.
He was like, I really want to be a hawk, but I need an excuse.
He's over there, like, counting down the minutes. Like, he's perched, like, next to a clock tower and is like, all right. Oh, let's see, 118, 119, and 120. There we go. All right, gonna go see Jake. Gonna go tell him I'm a hawk boy now.
My dreams come true.
Can't stop me now, Jake. Can't talk me out of my hockey dream.
I'm bird boy now.
He rolls up to Jake's place and he's like, hey, Jake, I'm a hawk. And Jake's like, cool, turn back. And he's like, nah, can't, stuck as a hawk. Sorry, bad luck. And Jake's like, it's been 49 minutes. No. It's definitely been 2 hours. Jake's like, listen, Tobias. No. I don't answer to that name. I answer only to my hawk name, which is Swiftwind. Jake's like, listen, Swiftwind.
Swiftwind. Okay, Swiftwind. Okay.
I have a watch. It's been 49 minutes. I don't understand your human concepts of time anymore, Jakery. Like, this is... I don't know what to tell you. It's been 2 hours. I am a hawk.
I won't take this abuse. Swiftwing out. I'm going to go catch a thermal.
Oh, Jesus.
I also realized I neglected to tell everyone about the big bad guy, which is Visser 3, which is the only Andalite to be controlled by a slug. And so he's extra dangerous because he can morph into anything, and he only morphs into aliens because why would you morph into an animal when you could be an all-powerful alien?
Yeah, of course. Which means that he's also an idiot because when he comes across the Animorphs as they're attempting this rescue mission, he's like, aha, fellow Andalites. You must be Andalites who survived and got down here. You're Andalites for sure because you're changing into animals, and you're definitely Andalites who are changing into shitty earth animals and not like giant anuses with teeth or whatever the fuck else is out there. Who can just destroy cities in a bite. Like, they're obviously not Andalites because, like, why would you be a fucking horse if you could be a space horse? Like, what?
Though I guess on the flip side, maybe he hasn't been on Earth long enough to recognize Earth animals, and he thought they were just some really lame aliens.
It's like, oh shit, that giant monkey's gonna breathe fire at me any second, I know it.
He's gonna pull out some lasers.
That horse has guns for hooves. Space horse.
I want to be that horse. So
I want to be a space horse with guns for hooves.
So that's pretty much the whole of this book. It's just an introduction to how to animorph, the rules of animorphing, who they're going to be battling. This is pretty much like they lost the battle, right? They're ineffective as a team, and that's all Jake's fault.
Yeah, like it wasn't good. I mean, they saved that one person, but like, who cares? They're probably a garbage person.
Exactly, yeah. They're probably, maybe it's one of the school janitors, and they have a clean school again.
I think they say it's the police officer, don't they? Because they're like, oh,
maybe.
I thought they did because they said like Cassie, they don't have to worry about Cassie being recognized because the only person who knew was the police officer, and that's who she pulled out. I'm not sure though. I could be making that up as a way to close a plot hole.
I think I read that as like they killed the policeman, and in my mind I was like, yes, that is the smart thing to do, and I completely neglected the fact that this was a children's book starring 13-year-old animals. They probably didn't kill the policeman.
The only controller. Nope. I think you're right. I think they did kill that policeman because the person who rode out on Cassie is a woman. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they killed that policeman. That's fucked up.
Wait, they did?
No, yeah, they killed that policeman. Because, okay, here's what... This is the section, okay?
Okay.
The final count was exactly one human freed. The woman who rode Cassie's back. So the woman who rode Cassie's back up out of that hellish pit. And Cassie had gotten away clean. It had been the suspicious controller policeman who had grabbed her. He was the only controller to know her name, where she lived, and that she had been spying on the sharing. Cassie said we didn't have to worry about him anymore. She didn't want to talk about what had happened to him.
Oh my God.
So that leads to more questions. Like, Cassie killed that guy, right?
Or Cassie.
How did she do that? She was a horse. More questions than answers here at the end of this Animorphs book.
I know. I cannot wait to get to the second book in this series. I'm sure all of our questions will be answered in the second out of 54 books.
Yes. So that kind of leads us. We've got some special segments for this Animorphs series we're doing. Instead of our usual, because we thought they wouldn't quite fit with this theme. Sorry if you were super looking forward to knowing what our silver lining was for this book.
It was the whole book. It was a joy to read.
It was the whole book. It was great. It was super fun. Let's start with most valuable morph.
So who contributed the most to today's antics?
And I think as we go on, we might expand this out of our core Animorphs, but I think for right now, I want to keep it to the 5 main characters here. And I got to go with Tobias. As much as he's a damn liar about the hawk thing, he definitely wanted to be a hawk, and he's trying to make them all feel bad for him when this is his lifelong dream.
Yes.
I don't think really anyone would have done anything if Tobias wasn't kind of like, hey, we should do things and not be fucking useless.
I agree. Tobias was very good. I think my most valuable morph would have to be, though, Cassie, because she possibly killed a dude. That's pretty metal.
Yeah, that's true. I could also make an argument for Rachel, as much as I talked shit about the fact that they wouldn't let her be a dolphin. I think she was the one that wanted to be a dolphin, but she became an elephant instead. And the elephant was actually very helpful, like, I think here's my order. I think it goes Tobias, Cassie, Rachel, Marco, fucking Jake. Jake's useless. Get rid of him.
Agreed.
I mean, Marco wasn't good, really. Like, he was just kind of there. But, like, he at least was upfront about the fact that he wasn't going to be helpful in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. He stuck to his values, and I can respect that.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. And he acted in a way that would indicate he didn't want to do that or be there. So, like, that was cool. Jake was kind of like, I guess I'm the leader, but I'm bad at it. So,
because Tobias said so.
Tobias said I'm the leader, so I guess I'm the leader. I don't know. Tobias led me to believe that I'm the leader.
What was your then most morbid moment? This is a children's series, a young adult series, but I think there are some pretty adult themes in some of this, or just like things that are more serious than a book about kids turning into animals would lead you to believe. So what was your most morbid moment?
So there's a moment right after Rachel turns into an elephant where one of the controllers, a taxon, which is another, so there's like the taxons and the Hork-Bajir are like the main groups that are being controlled. And the Hork-Bajir, when we're introduced, they're like chill, I guess, is their deal. Like, they're nice. And the taxons are kind of assholes, I think is kind of the vibe, right?
They willingly became controllers, and the Hork-Bajir fought against it.
Okay. So we know this. But, like, they are sentient beings. And there is a scene, Rachel turns into an elephant and fucking stomps on one of these things. And the way it is described is hella nasty. The needle legs collapsed, cracking like broken twigs. Yellow goo oozed from the popped flesh of the big worm. She kept rolling over him, leaving behind a big, extremely disgusting pile of goo.
She got on her back and rolled around.
Yes. Number one, that is very metal that Rachel did that. But number two, like, to be fair to the Yeerks, they're not killing anyone. They're just, like, enslaving them, which isn't great, and I'm not saying that's great. I'm not saying it's good.
You heard it here first.
I don't know, maybe from
slavery.
No. I'm not excusing their behavior. I'm just saying that they're not straight up murdering people and rolling over them and squishing their guts out like some elephant monster. She went to that so fast.
She was
this
ready.
was literally their first fight. This
she's
was their
like-
first fight. She had no qualms.
She's got urges though. Dark
Ugh.
urges.
And I mean, like, I guess you can kind of like extrapolate from the Cassie thing. Like, Cassie apparently just straight up killed that policeman. We don't know if he was like, because they say that some of the humans agreed to this whole deal and are like
Yes.
co-conspirators. We don't know if that was that policeman or not. That policeman might have just been like enslaved by these worms, and I guess Cassie killed him? I don't know. That's real fucked up,
She
ladies.
went too hard, too fast.
They all did. How about you? What was your most morbid moment?
For me, my most morbid moment was just like the fact that these kids went into this like underground cave network filled with the
Mhm.
screams of humans yelling, "Help me get out of my brain. I want to be free." And it didn't even phase them. They were like, "Yeah, this is pretty like bad stuff, guys." But maybe that's what it was. Maybe they heard these screams and that's what flipped the switch into kill mode.
Well, one of them, I think it's Marco, is like, it's hell. It's actually hell. There are demons down here, and we're gonna get eaten by demons. We're gonna get ate up. There are demons. I think it's
There-
Marco, because he's a little chicken shit who says that.
Yes.
But I don't think they're totally unfazed. But yeah, definitely like, I don't know. I feel like less when they go down into it, because it's like, okay, but they're on a mission. More like they
Yeah.
come back, and for the most part, they all just like go back home and go to bed. Like,
Yes, that's the thing. That's like Rachel and Cassie killed people, well, aliens and a people, and they're just like, sweet dreams.
like bye. Like, they need to have like a post battle like chill sesh around a fire pit and like talk about their feelings and how they definitely murdered some people, and how also like there's a whole like city of enslaved people under their fucking school, and they're just like, well, guess we gotta deal with this later. Like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, I guess you do.
But maybe not until the weekend, because I have a lot of homework due this week. Like, there's a book report.
Right.
And I haven't even started the book. So, like,
It's one of those
yeah,
one
I'm
of those
booked up till Sunday.
things where like that's kind of like a popular trope, right? In like some media where it's like, oh, plucky teens doing things
Yeah,
that the rest of the
yeah.
world doesn't know about, like, like Buffy sort of thing. But like,
yeah, you got your Sailor Moons, you got your Power Rangers.
yeah. Like, there comes a point though where like you can't go back to trigonometry, man. Like,
Yeah. Like, how does any of that matter anymore at all?
right. Like, I don't know. Maybe this will be addressed in later books as they deal with the consequences
Yeah.
of finding out this whole sitch. But
Let's just get straight into those series theories then.
all right. Well, less to do with that. More my current theory. What are the blue aliens' names again? I'm gonna ask you this every time.
Andalites.
Thank you. I think the Andalites are straight up evil. And I know that I'm wrong about this in the sense that there is a series written about the Andalites and they are apparently protagonists, but I don't buy that. I think they're evil. And here is my reasoning. Number one, as we've discussed, they seem to have some sort of psychic power that makes everyone chill out and think that they're like cool and friendly, which is like, that's automatically like, you're like fucking
That's a red
Jafar
flag.
over here with your like snake staff hypnotizing people like into letting
Very true.
letting me marry your teenage daughter. Like, that's some bullshit. No, don't trust
Very
it.
true.
Don't like it. Don't want it. Number two, okay, so the Yeerks' whole thing, like their whole steez, right, is that they are little weak buggies and they don't have bodies that are big enough and strong enough to protect them from getting smush smashed, so they need to steal other people's bodies. That's bad, and they should feel bad about it, and there's no excuse for stealing bodies. We all agree.
Correct.
But,
Correct.
however, with that noted, if you are a little buggy, afraid of being smashed, and your whole culture has told you, like, let's steal bodies so we don't get smashed. And then you come across this other species that's like, hey, guess what? We have magic fucking powers that can let you, like, not steal, but copy other bodies, and then you won't get smashed.
Oh my
like,
God.
Why would you'd be like,
Yes.
please share that with me, right? Right? And
Can
if
I
you
have
were
that
a
technology?
responsible, yes. And if you were a responsible Andalite, you should be like, you are right. It is very clear that you are worried about getting smashed, and that if we gave you this technology, even if we taught you about it, if we put limits on it, if we helped you like integrate it into your society, you could stop enslaving people, and you could just be a fucking zebra or whatever.
You could just be, yeah.
So, with that in mind, the fact that the Andalites are like just so worried about these little buggies, when they obviously could destroy them if they wanted to. I don't know what the deal is. Like, that needs some serious explanation for me to buy the fact that these like super OP fucking aliens that are like, we can be a giant fucking laser gun if we lick it first. Like, whatever.
I absorb the laser's DNA.
Right, like, I'm just like, there's no way you couldn't beat these bugs. Like, there's no way. So there's something going on there with that, like, the Andalites, they want the Yeerks to continue to play against all the other alien races. They want to use the Yeerks to keep everything in check because they're the real assholes.
Oh my God. That makes so much sense.
This is my current working theory. We will see how this plays out.
Oh my. I don't remember much about this series, but I really hope it goes the way that you said. Like, I couldn't think of anything more I would like, but it does seem a little bit sophisticated for this level of series.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen, but I will look for signs in the background that it is happening.
I like this idea of the Andalites just being like kind of these master manipulators, but like, what is the end goal though? Are they trying to just wipe out a species, or are they just bullies? Like, what are they?
Okay, so here's my thought. They don't want to wipe anyone out because they are invested in having like great diversity of life in the universe, right?
Right.
Because they want to be able to copy stuff, right? So like, I don't think they're interested in wiping anyone out, which is why they have allowed the Yeerks to continue as they do, because the Yeerks are not a threat to the Andalites, but some of these other species might be. So if it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing, right? Like, they know they can beat the Yeerks can beat these other things and keep them, like, by proxy, they're under the Andalites' control. So in that way, they are keeping these other species, which could be a threat to the Andalites. Like, I don't know much about like the taxons, but like maybe if they got their shit together, they could like go fuck some Andalites up, you know? So it's a delicate balancing game so that they don't have to, because like they could just destroy everyone if they really wanted to, but they don't want that. So it's really hard to keep other civilizations going, but not a threat to you, right? So they want to keep them like lower level than themselves. They want to like make sure there's enough shit setting them back that they don't rise up and become like the dominant power in the universe. God. And the Yeerks are a really effective way of doing that because they like slow everybody's progress down.
We have to fight the Andalite patriarchy.
Yeah, 100%. The Andalites are the patriarchy, and everybody else is like minority groups who are constantly told to fight each other so that they can't rise up and smash the patriarchy. That's all it is.
They
it's
try
all
to tell you they know what's best for you, but like honestly, we're more powerful than them, and that's what scares them.
Yeah, exactly.
I love this theory. I couldn't possibly come up with something better.
I also have a theory that at some point, and this is more just like of where this book series is going to go. I have a theory, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I really hope it does, that at some point they're going to realize that humans are animals, so they're just going to start stroking humans and then like be able to like turn into other humans, because that would be tight if they all like...
That would be a good idea that Jake will never think of.
Like... Like, I don't understand why they didn't have this thought like 2 seconds into this whole thing.
They could be anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I should write the Animorphs.
You should. You are K.A. Applegate, the new K.A. Applegate. Do they need a new Animorph series in 2019? Because
They need to call up E.G. Banana Door and get her on, get her on the case, because I have a very reasonable rate.
Oh, will you work for Exposure
Fuck you.
as E.G. Banana Door?
It's gonna be
It's
my
not your
pen
professional name.
by the
I'm
way.
sorry. You said it. You said it here. It is now. It is now truth. It is now fact. You are forevermore.
I'm changing my
Banana Door.
I'm changing my Twitter name to E.G. Banana Door.
That is 100% the correct move.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have to say about this first installment in the Animorph series.
It was a lot more than I thought we were gonna say.
Yeah, for sure. We talked forever. Our whole plan about how like these would be shorter episodes is super out the door. But if you had fun with us talking about Animorphs, you can come on by next fortnight. We will be continuing the series with book number 2, which is called
The Visitor. And it's narrated by Rachel.
Yeah, so new narrator. Thank God I'm sick of Jake. Yeah.
I cannot wait. On the cover of the book, Rachel is turning into a cat.
Oh, good. I mean, that's definitely a morph we've already seen in this book, so like cool way to keep it fresh, I guess, but you know.
There's like literally almost every animal available still at this point in time for these children to turn into because they are very new to this and they chose cat.
Cat. Again. We did cat. Let's do it again. More cat, please. That's what. Ooh, I am excited though because I kind of like looked ahead a little bit and it looks like by book 4 we are going to be getting that dolphin transformation, so that's great.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. They finally stopped listening to Jake.
Someone figured it out.
If you need to get in touch with us for any reason, if you have a lead on your nearest slug spa and you want us to turn into horses and kill police officers, you can tweet at us at HateReadCast. Or you can email us, hatereadcast@gmail.com.
I do feel we should not put out into the universe. We will turn into horses and kill police officers.
Okay.
Mainly for that last part.
All right. Backtrack then. If you would like us to turn into horses and mysteriously disappear police officers.
There you go. That's okay. That's not a threat.
That's fine. You can tweet at us at HateReadCast or email us hatereadcast@gmail.com. As always, thank you to Ben Cope for the use of our theme song. You can check out his YouTube channel in our show notes. And we are also located on all of the podcasting aggregating platforms. So if you haven't followed or subscribed to us, you are a loser. And you should definitely do that.
Wow, Anna. Very harsh.
Like you care. You should do that. Despite what I said, you should also leave us a 5-star review because we're really cool, nice people. And tell people about us with your mouth. Let them know we're starting this. They can jump in right here at the beginning of our Slummer Reading project. There's only one episode they got to catch up on to be in on all of the cool jokes we make about Animorphs.
In the words of K.A. Applegate, eat the broccoli, Jake. It's good for you. It's full of trace minerals and vitamins you can't get anywhere else. What? What minerals are in broccoli and nothing else?
The broccoli mineral, obviously.
Broccoli.
It's very important for growing Animorphs. Okay, there's one where she turns into a butterfly.
Okay, there's probably one where they turn into a lot of things.
There's one where she turns into like a
Anna, I need
tentacle.
you to focus.
There's a cow. No, it's too late. Hold on, I told you I'm on number 30. Here he's turning into a cockroach. That's gonna be an interesting one. Yes, number 32, the separation. Rachel turns into a starfish, and it is fucking hilarious looking. Look it up on Wikipedia, please, guys. It's hysterical.